There's something about this whole Jeremiyah Love to the Browns situation that, to me, goes way beyond just the player's name. Because when Andrew Berry talks publicly like that about a prospect, comparing traits, pointing out how he breaks the mold for the position, and even leaving the door open for a possible trade-up, that's not just standard pre-draft praise. That's signaling. And what makes it even more interesting is the timing. Since, at least on paper, Cleveland shouldn't be desperate for a running back right now. That's what makes this whole thing way more intriguing. If you take a surface-level look, you might be like, hold up, don't the Browns already have Quinshon Judkins? Didn't they bring in Dylan Sampson? Aren't there bigger needs on the roster? And yeah, all fair questions. But the draft ain't just about immediate needs. Sometimes it's about ceiling, value, offensive vision, how you want your team to look 2-3 years down the road. And when Berry talks about Jeremiyah Love as someone who transcends scheme, what he's really saying is, if this dude drops into a range we can reach, the whole internal conversation flips. And honestly, I get it, because right now, the Browns are still trying to figure out what their true offensive identity even is. Over the past few years, they've switched coordinators, tweaked philosophies, tried to balance a physical ground game with more modern passing concepts. But a lot of the time, they've been missing exactly what Love brings on paper: real explosiveness, versatility, and mismatch creation. It's not just about running between the tackles. It's about putting linebackers in conflict in space. It's lining up in the backfield and becoming a legit receiving threat. It's turning a short pass into a chunk gain. It's forcing defenses to tip their hand. That kind of piece, when used right, makes life easier for your QB, helps your O-line, and straight up messes with how defenses game plan against you. And here's what really stands out. Berry didn't talk about Love like he's a really good running back. He talked about him like he's a hybrid offensive weapon. In today's NFL, that matters a lot. The league's been trending this way for years. The hardest offenses to defend are the ones that live in ambiguity. Who's the runner? Who's the receiver? Who's going in motion? Who's catching screens? Who can hit an angle route, a wheel, a choice route? When your RB is a real part of the passing game, not just a check-down option, the whole playbook opens up. That's why comps to guys like McCaffrey and Gibbs matter. Not because Love is guaranteed to be that level, but because that's the archetype. Now let's bring it back to the Browns. Right now, you've got Judkins as the main guy in that backfield. And to be fair, Browns fans have every reason to like what they've seen. Even with a rookie year that had some rough context, adjustments, and then a serious injury slowing him down, he produced. He wasn't ripping highlight plays every snap, but he was solid, ran tough, handled volume, gave the offense some stability after Nick Chubb, and showed he can be an NFL back for a long time. That matters a lot. So this can't turn into that classic internet debate where you pick one guy and trash the other. It's not Judkins failed, so go get Love. That ain't it. The real question is different. Judkins can be a solid starter, but Love might be the kind of talent that forces you to rethink your entire offensive structure. Those are two completely different conversations. Judkins, so far, looks like more of a straightforward, linear back. A guy who can carry the load, grind out yards, keep the offense on schedule. Love, at least in projection, gives you tactical elasticity. He changes formations, play calling, pre-snap reads. Totally different profiles. And that's where the real dilemma kicks in. Does it make sense to invest heavily in another RB when you just invested in the position and still have other holes? That's the tricky part. I can absolutely see the argument for. If the Browns truly believe Love is a rare impact player, and not just a running back, but a piece that elevates the entire offense, then yeah, you consider trading up, especially if you've got draft capital flexibility. Today's NFL rewards explosive talent, and let's be real, Cleveland still struggles at times to threaten defenses in space. But there's a flip side, and it's not small. Trading up ain't cheap, and the issue isn't just liking the player. Berry basically hinted at this. The question isn't, is he worth it? It's, what's the cost to turn this interest into an actual pick? There's a big difference between taking a guy who falls to you and giving up assets to go get him. And when you do that for a running back, even a special one, you better be damn sure he's going to be central to your offensive identity. Me personally, I'm usually more cautious about trading up for a RB, not because the position doesn't matter, but because the margin for error is brutal. If you miss on an edge rusher, a left tackle, or a QB, it already hurts. If you miss after trading up for a running back, now you've paid extra and created redundancy at a position you just invested in. That only makes sense if you see Love as way more than a productive runner. You have to see an offensive multiplier, and that's where Todd Monken could play a huge role. If the coaching staff is envisioning a more multiple, unpredictable offense, more RB usage in the passing game, more creative touch distribution, less reliance on a traditional, heavy ground attack, then Love fits like a glove. He's not just another RB, he's a design piece. But if the plan is to keep Judkins as the engine of the run game and stay more conventional, then I've got more doubts about sacrificing assets to move up. At that point, the marginal gain might not justify the cost. You can love the player and still decide the smarter move is addressing another position and trusting your current group to develop. And here's something Browns fans gotta keep in mind. Draft rumors don't always mean action. Sometimes they tell you more about how the front office grades a player than what they'll actually do. The Browns can love Love and still never pull the trigger if the market price doesn't line up with their internal value. But let's be real for a second, because fandom isn't just logic. As a Browns fan, I know the temptation is real. When you hear about a dynamic, explosive, modern weapon and your team is linked to him, your mind starts racing. You start imagining what this offense could look like with more speed, more juice, more ability to hurt defenses on short passes and schemed touches. And after years of the offense feeling stuck, heavy, or predictable in big moments, yeah, that hits different. But that's exactly where you've got to think like an analyst. The draft doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's about roster context, cap structure, competitive timeline, medical risk, coaching fit, and opportunity cost. If you move up for Love, you're not doing something else. And that something else might be fixing a bigger weakness than your backfield. This isn't an isolated move. It reshapes your priorities. Best case scenario? The Browns see Love as a legit game changer. Move up without overpaying, and add a player who raises the ceiling of the entire offense. Judkins still plays a key role. The backfield becomes complementary instead of competitive. Monken builds packages where both skill sets coexist. And Cleveland ends up with a faster, more modern, harder-to-defend offense. At that point, you didn't just draft a running back. You gave defenses a new headache. Worst case? They fall too hard for the name, overpay to move up, lose flexibility in the rest of the draft, and then realize the actual usage doesn't justify the investment. Now Judkins loses touches, other roster holes remain, and the pick gets judged not on the player, but on the opportunity cost. And in the NFL, that narrative flips fast. Most likely outcome? Probably somewhere in the middle. I think it's very plausible the Browns genuinely love Love, but only make a move if two things happen. He falls further than expected, and the price to move up lands in a reasonable range. If either of those doesn't happen, I'd bet Cleveland stays put. And honestly, that's not being soft, that's discipline. There's a big difference between being aggressive and being reckless. Barry likes to present himself, and probably sees himself, as aggressive when needed. But the best kind of aggression in a front office is selective. It's about attacking value, not headlines. So if the Browns move up, it better be because they're fully convinced in both the player's uniqueness and a clear usage plan. Not because the fan base got hyped over flashy comps during draft week. At the end of the day, this news says a lot about Jeremiyah Love, but it also says a lot about the Browns. It says they're at least mentally open to thinking bigger on offense. It says they recognize that special talent demands serious consideration, even at positions that seem covered. And it says Cleveland's draft might not be as predictable as folks think. For me, the question isn't whether Love is good enough. Sounds like he is. The real question is whether the Browns are at a stage in their roster build where admiration should turn into a major investment. And I'll keep it real, dog pound. I'm only making that move if the building truly believes this guy changes the math of the offense. If it's just because he's the top RB in the class, I'm passing. If it's because he's a weapon that reshapes the whole scheme, now we're talking. So what about you, Browns fan? No blind hype, no playing it safe just to play it safe. If Jeremiyah Love is within reach, you trading up for him or riding with Judkins, Sampson, and using that draft capital to patch other holes on this roster?